Back home, consumer advocates say they are dismayed the government is heading to an election without introducing legislation to protect vulnerable Australians from predatory behaviour by small lenders.
The government pledged to tighten laws surrounding payday loans and rent-to-buy contracts known as consumer leases. But as Consumer Affairs reporter Amy Bainbridge explains, the government's legislation didn't make it to Parliament.
When Ray Pilvin's relationship broke down, money was tight, so he opted to rent household goods like this washing machine to get back on his feet.
I knew I was signing up to get the stuff, but I didn't realise I was signing up to pay for it twice.
Ray needed just a few essentials, but he says he was upsold in a radio rental store. He says staff convinced him he could afford to rent a fridge, TV, mobile phone, bed and freezer. Ray was on track to pay almost $12,000 over the life of his contract, more than double the retail cost of the 6 items.
If I had any idea that I was going to be paying this much more, I would have just went without.
When he couldn't afford his payments, a financial counsellor intervened.
I'm not real smart with any of this sort of stuff, and there's a lot of other people that aren't smart either, so it's easy for us to get caught into these things, I think.
The consumer lease and payday loans industries escaped the scrutiny of the Banking Royal Commission.
And the longer the contract, the more you paid.
They've long been blamed for adding to the debt problems of thousands of vulnerable Australians.
Credit should help people and not harm them. And when we've got products in the marketplace that actually leave people in a worse position, we need to act to change it.
Back in 2017, amid fierce debate about a Banking Royal Commission, the federal government drafted legislation to tighten rules for consumer leases and payday loans. Among the proposed changes was a cap on the total cost of a consumer lease and limiting payments on leases to 10% of a customer's net income. That legislation never made it through Parliament. The Industry Association for Consumer Leasing wants a higher cap on the total cost of consumer leases to be able to charge double the retail price in the first year, which would include fees and services. The industry also wants the green light for contracts that cost up to 20% of a customer's income rather than the suggested 10%.
We've met with both parties and worked with both parties in helping this legislation to be set up so that it's there to protect the vulnerable and also to assist us in staying in business.
The government declined a request for an interview, but says new laws introduced after the Banking Royal Commission will go some way towards addressing concerns. It says it is still considering further changes, while Labor has pledged to introduce the legislation as a priority if elected. Amy Bainbridge, ABC News.
And In Rent, the company that provided Ray Pilvin's radio rentals contract, told the ABC in a statement late yesterday that it supports price caps for consumer leases and that Mr Pilvin's case was resolved satisfactorily.